I'm James Carl Morrison. I bitch about it, so you fuckers can listen. Right, well, I've been contemplating how to approach this reaction video. I appreciate not a lot of people are going to watch this and whatnot, but like the dozens and dozens of the Morrisoni's fans who have asked me to sort of power on with this series, they've sort of requested this video, so I'll give it my all, give you my 2 cents, as it were. I've basically just watched She-Hulk. Yeah. And look, from the off, I appreciate that this was a series that was not written or intended for me. Like the demographic was clearly a female-based sort of post-millennial progressive group. Okay, this is not for this was not for the approaching 40 male demographic who love their 80s action films, who love their women with nice titties and asses and sort of one-liners and whatnot. This was not for me. I appreciate that. I totally understand that. I couldn't help looking at this poor woman, thinking of Joni Lorna, poor China. I know that's awful. I know it's disgusting, but I couldn't help it, to be honest with you. But anyway, other than that, I try to keep an open mind. I fucking hated this. And fine. I got to the 4th episode. I realised that this was not for me, and I decided to put Obi-Wan Kenobi on, and that was it. I wasn't going to watch this, but I commented on Facebook, basically said this was wank, and a few of the guys basically said, power on and want to hear what you've got to say about the finale. So I'm not really a fan of the She-Hulk comics, as I'm sure you could tell. I appreciate that this was probably more truer to the comics, and I'm a bit ignorant to it. But throughout the start, the main character was basically very meta and sort of broke the fourth wall. Kind of reminded me of Malcolm in the Middle for some weird ass reason. I even think I mentioned that in my Facebook status. It just felt like it was a lame ass Malcolm in the Middle sort of attempt, and I think it was an attempt to sort of make it endearing and sort of obviously speak to the audience and whatnot, but trying to make it a little bit less formulaic, even though it's been done by Deadpool for quite a while now with much more sort of successful comedic effect. And this came across most of the time as cringe. There were a few funny moments, but it was mostly cringe. The final episode was complete and utter breakage of the fourth wall. She literally punches through the streaming menu screen, that sort of crawls across the screen and literally waltzes into Marvel Studios, beating up the writers, some security, and finding out that the head of Marvel is basically this robot that comes up with formulaic sort of plot devices that have been done for decades. I've been a fan of those lovely formulaic plot devices. I've put money down to watch those very entertaining formulaic plot devices. I've enjoyed those formulaic plot devices, and you've basically belittled it. It's bad enough that you give out a shit product. I mean, you could laugh at shit products. You can enjoy shit products, like The Highlander, for example. It's one of my all-time favourite shit films. It's not a well put together film. It's a lot of mugging at the camera. It's not a perfect film, but I enjoy it. It's entertaining. Like Rocky IV, again, entertaining. Some really silly bits in it, but really quotable and fun. And soundtrack is to fucking die for. This is one of those movies that's so bad it drags all of the other franchises attached to it, all of the Easter eggs, all of the other cameos. It makes all of those other products worse just for being associated with it. Like, I'm not going to enjoy Daredevil the same like I used to. I'm not going to enjoy Doctor Strange the same way that I used to. I'm not going to watch the old Incredible Hulk movie the same way that I used to. Now, I appreciate there's some issues with design, and I appreciate that's not really why I hated it. There were some creative choices here which were just not very, very good. Not very good at all. But the other reason that I'm pissed off with this was that I actually kind of liked where it was sort of going. And the penultimate sort of episode, you had this intelligencer or whatever the group is called, like this sort of like majority male sort of incel group, basically She-Hulk and bashing her, basically saying, "Oh, she's a woman, she's so entitled, oh, she, oh, whatnot, oh, yeah," shitting on her basically because she's a lady or whatever. Bunch of men haters, ignoring the fact that this is literally the one sort of like this is like the one super villain or sort of like regular villain plan that has literally worked 100%. Like it's literally they sought out to get rid of the She-Hulk, and they achieved that 100%. They completely did that. And they did it in a way that made me empathize with this character that I absolutely fucking despise. Like this Mary Sue, who was absolutely fucking perfect, who basically mastered everything and made a Hulk, being a Hulk, look like an absolute piece of piss. Like, yeah, this thing that basically Bruce Banner has sort of suffered with, struggled with for years, and sort of like all of us, the psychological mental anguish and the split personalities and the rages and the yeah, fine. She's completely fine. Mastered it in a couple of days because she's so fucking perfect, and I kind of get that they implemented that into her character, right? Okay, and I kind of get that. It was infuriating as fuck to watch, but I sort of get it. But what I liked about this sort of group is they exploited that one weakness, that one sort of exploit that sort of was there. It was the chink in the armor that was there throughout the episode. She basically had this desire to find companionship and love, and they completely exploited that. Basically, what these guys did, they planted a honeypot, like this absolutely handsome, like sort of nice guy, made sure that she met him because obviously her identity is out there. She hasn't kept it a secret from anyone. They basically go out and have a great time. They end up getting intimate. During the intimacy, he's recording them shagging, right? He's copied all of her personal information from the phone. So he's got all of this like sort of like personal data and all these bits and bobs that she's probably either exploiting, sharing on the internet or whatever. I don't know. And she's more importantly, he's taken a sample of her blood. Okay. Which he's then given to this incel group who's like well funded apparently, and they've basically taken to a lab, and they've synthesized a serum which you can use to turn anybody into a Hulk. Which he then later wastes on himself for absolutely no reason at all, other than to brag to all of these fucking virgins in this group. I'll tell you what I would have done later. I found it also very strange for all of these men, because she made two profiles, one of her normal self and one of She-Hulk. I found it quite strange that these men were so eager to shag this this giant fucking She-Hulk woman. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I was a bit worried for them in a sense, bearing in mind that she sort of contracted these powers from her cousin, because he bled into her open wounds. I'm pretty sure that if you put your dick in that, you could catch something pretty severe. I mean, there's a good chance of gamma radiation poisoning in the worst possible way. I wouldn't risk it. Yeah, I would. Of course, I would. But yeah, no. But you know what I mean. I'd be concerned for those men, if I'm honest, or maybe I'm thinking too much about this. But anyway, they had this video, and this woman, first of all, she had this wonderful episode with the Daredevil. It sort of belittled the Daredevil a little bit, but it was probably the strongest episode out of the entire series, the penultimate episode. They fight crime together. They have some wonderful chemistry. The actual two actors, the Daredevil and the She-Hulk, and they end up knocking boots together, which is lovely. I felt really nice, happy for him actually, because the whole point was that she was struggling to find that companion on her level. It was really nice and whatever. Anyway, they knock boots. She goes to this gala where she's been given an award for being the best female lawyer of the year. They end up giving all of their female staff the same award because that would be the shittiest thing a corporate firm could do. Basically, get all of their female lawyers on stage, parade them, take pictures, and basically say how progressive they are. They're sort of pushing for female equality and getting all of those ladies up at the top of the hierarchy, top of the food chain. Yeah, we're so progressive. Yeah, girl power and all that shit. Basically, sort of promoting themselves and sucking their own cock. I can imagine a lot of corporations would do that, to be fair. But anyway, she's on stage and she's accepting this award, and they show the sex video in front of her bosses, in front of her friends, and in front of her family. She's invited her mum and dad and her family, a close family who they've established she's got a very nice and well-knit sort of family unit. They show them this intimate sex tape. I mean, could you imagine how awful that would feel? You're literally standing on a stage and someone's showing you getting noshed off or getting banged like by this guy in front of your friends, your family, your peers, your work colleagues, everybody. I totally empathise with that woman there and then, and I totally understood why she lost her temper for the first time and went into a Hulk rage, smashed the TV, smashed windows, smashed walls, and all these incel guys were taking photos and filming the whole thing, and she went for them. And that led to her being arrested, losing her job, losing her house, her everything. The only reason she could get a parole and get out of prison was wearing like a weird techno inhibitor that basically meant she couldn't change into the She-Hulk. They won. They 100% won. They broke this woman in the worst possible way and exploited her in an empathetic way that any person could sympathise with and feel sorry for her. And it led to absolutely nothing. It just led to her basically retconning the whole thing in the end, pressing the history eraser button, and wasting everybody's fucking time. Awful. Absolutely awful. Instead of shitting on guys and sort of making these incels look like a bunch of fucking nerds, why don't you actually acknowledge how awful and nasty the nasty thing that they did, acknowledge their success for one, and actually make him a threat. The fact that this guy had a lab and was able to synthesize a Hulk serum purely off of her. Bear in mind, we were already told that she had a unique sort of DNA that made her sort of absorb gamma radiation, and was so she wouldn't die of it, and that she could become this Hulk beast. The fact that they were able to do that, it opened so many doors. I mean, there were so many possibilities and so many creative doors that were just sort of ignored here. I mean, first of all, first thing I would have done, they had this other lady called Titania, okay? And they had this lady sort of he was this shallow, sort of superhuman sort of bitch, sort of throwing her weight about, and was sort of the slight nemesis to She-Hulk. Fought her in a wedding last time I saw her. She got a bit embarrassed and she shot off into the sunset. This was her opportunity in my eyes to sort of shine through and sort of show a different side of that sort of shallow, one-dimensional character. she could have empathized and felt sorry for this She-Hulk. She could have tracked down this woman who couldn't change into the She-Hulk. She was just a normal ass woman. What I would have done, I would have got her to track her down, look as if she was going to kill her, and just give her a big fucking hug. Show the audience that the good side of women, not the shallow side, not the bitchy side, not the side of them that sort of demeans and sort of shits on guys and makes them feel terrible. But show the good side of women. Show them being supportive. Show them being nurturing. Show them their best. They're the best team players in the world. They are literally. They will literally be the pillars of any company. They will literally raise you up, and they will nurture and they will support you. That is the best that the women could be. You could have shown us that with this woman that you've shown to be a nasty, horrible piece of shit. Because any woman could relate to what this male group did to She-Hulk. It was a vile, horrible thing. You basically sexualized and sort of objectified this woman at the very peak of her professional success, and you've made her into a thing, and you've done that in front of all of the people she held dear. No woman would have wanted that to have happened to them, and it would have been lovely to have seen this arch nemesis basically say, I'm sorry this has happened. I wanted to break you. I wanted to hurt you, but not this way. I would have never have done it this way, and I'm sorry that this happened to you. That would have been lovely. And as recompense, and just as a sort of I'm a sorry, sort of thing. Oh, I just managed to track down and find the guy that basically honeypotted you and slept with you and taped it. Yeah, I tracked him down. I got my guys to track him down. This is the guy from the incel group. This is the guy from the society. Here he is, because we never saw him again after that. Here he is. I tracked him down for you. I've interrogated him. This is where they are. This is what they're doing. You're welcome. And then she would have had a final resolution with that bloke. She could have gave him a good slap or whatever, or given him a good talking down to. And that would have been it. She would have known where that group was hiding out, where it was located. And as for the group itself, now you've got this super serum, right? You've got this serum that you've handed to a lab. You've sort of broke it down from this blood, and you've developed this special liquid, this formula that could turn anybody into a Hulk. Rather than inject yourself with that and fucking pose to all your fucking bromans or bromates, why don't you black market that shit? Why don't you sell that shit? Why don't you mass produce that shit and fucking make yourself a fucking billionaire if that's it? Weaponize it. Be the next fucking Tony Stark with that shit. Why the fuck wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you? Furthermore, why wouldn't General Ross then intervene and basically get the government involved and seize all of his fucking work, his assets, his everything? Because technically, it's government property, right? I mean, the Bruce Banner was infected by gamma rays as part of a experiment from the US Army or whatnot, wasn't it? So technically, any research thereof or sort of branching from that is property of the US government, isn't it? Get that shit involved. Get them involved and whatnot. You've got Matt Murdock there, who's been reintroduced. He's the fucking daredevil. And this woman has been put in a situation where the law has technically failed her, right? I mean, she can sue these guys. She can find their identity and sue them for defamation and breach of privacy or whatever. But that's not going to get her job back, or it shouldn't get her job back. That's not going to get her life back on track. You know, you've shared intimacy with this person. Why don't you get this daredevil involved, who also not only has a personal attachment to this woman, but considering that you've got this sort of serum that could turn everybody to fucking hulks, and it could potentially end up in World War IV with a bunch of fucking raging man beasts or women female beasts, maybe it's in everyone's best interest if he tries to stop that. You had a support group of sort of guys from a previous episode, all these guys who were basically sort of friends and companions of She-Hulk. Why do you get them involved and get them sort of invading the incel group or their hideout and whatnot? Why don't you get them involved? And there was this one part that everyone seems to sort of gloss over, everyone seems to miss, and it rubbed me the worst possible way, and it basically showed me that this writing team and this character was completely oblivious to sort of a male audience and what they feel about women as a general. Because unfortunately, as much as I deny, I'm starting to feel quite close to this incel group in some respects, in some kind of respects. So you've got all these guys on YouTube, and they're preaching a lot of sort of a lot of things about ladies. Some people agree with it, some people don't. The sort of main pattern that I sort of pick up on is basically lack of accountability and unrealistic expectations on sort of male partners. Like they expect them to earn a shit ton of money off of them a lot of their time, regardless of that, despite the fact that earning a shit ton of money would take up a lot of their time, and basically be sort of well-adjusted, sort of perfect human beings, which is impossible. But the former sort of point, the accountability, she has this meta sort of scene, this moment with this robot, this Kevin, and there's this scene where she looks at the Abomination, the Team Roth character, and she basically said, well, he's turned into the Abomination, and that's a breach of his parole. I feel he should take some accountability. That's literally, paraphrasing her words, take some accountability for breaking the conditions of his parole, and he should go to jail. She basically made him sign a piece of paper at the end saying that he was going to go to jail for 10 years for turning into an abomination. He hadn't done anything wrong. He was other than turning an abomination, it was made clear that he turned into the creature to give sort of support talks and be part of groups, basically. He wasn't actually causing any harm, but part of his parole was not to turn into the Abomination. The issue I have with that is she walks out of the building. Bear in mind, we've had this meta scene. We don't know how she comes out of the hideout of the building where the incel guys are sort of meeting. We don't know how it got resolved, how it got cleaned up or whatever. But she comes out of the building in front of everyone in broad daylight as She-Hulk. And she's just been paroled from jail with the same conditions as this Abomination character. She can't turn into She-Hulk, else she'll go back to jail. The exact same conditions. She walks out as She-Hulk, and she expects there to be no repercussions for that whatsoever. But this gentleman, this fella who did the exact same fucking thing, she feels that he needs to go to fucking jail for 10 years. Absolute fucking bullshit. I know it's a small thing, but for me, it highlighted a major issue with the character and with accountability. Like she's shown that from doing this weird sort of breaking the fourth wall, sort of like, I'm going to retcon and destroy this entire story, that she's not willing to take responsibility for her actions. Now, even though she was manipulated and sort of humiliated in front of all of these people, she reacted. She lost her temper. She destroyed public property. She endangered people's lives, and she's not willing to take responsibility for that. I mean, guys. I mean, when you sort of lose your temper, when you've done something wrong, when you've been on the wrong side of the law, it's usually a crime of passion. You've usually just lost your temper or just done something because you've been at the end of your wick. Majority of the time, you have to take accountability for those actions. You pay a consequence for those actions. And these writers feel that this woman doesn't need to do that. Why? Why? Yeah. I just it rubbed me the wrong way, and it made me feel that I completely wasted my time, and I'm generally concerned now. I'm generally concerned for the future of Marvel because they've only just gone and told us that all of their movies are formulaic and they're tired old shit, and you know it's the same old bullshit fucking safe humor. It's the same. It's been the same recycled jokes for years, and yeah, I just feel that ever since Phase 3, when they've had that amazing epic sort of showdown and Endgame, there really hasn't been anything worth watching, and there's not really been any sort of noteworthy projects since then. I'm concerned for Deadpool 3, if I'm honest, because that the whole point of Deadpool is that he's fourth wall breaking and he's meta, and if the same writers are involved, I think that's just going to be dog shit. If I'm honest, I think it's going to be a terrible experience for everybody. I'm worried for the X-Men universe, if I'm honest, and I generally don't know where they go from here. I honestly, God, don't. I know there's like a plan and whatnot. I kind of wanted to see the Silver Surfer and Galactus. I think that would have been a wonderful sort of way forward. But other than that, there's nothing for me here. I think my time with Marvel is at an end, really. Highlights for She-Hulk. I actually kind of enjoyed the courtroom drama aspect of it. There were some elements of that. I hope they sort of continue in the second series. I was generally pissed off that she basically sort of retconned the whole thing. She ended up with her old job back, working with the shitty, sleazy law firm. Wouldn't it be nice if she took a page out of Matt Murdock's book and actually became a sort of funded herself? She worked, made her own law firm. Wouldn't that have been nice? Or maybe, hell, I'd have thought the Avengers actually would have took her on and funded her and sort of made her the official representative of metahumans going forward, or sort of sort of superhumans going forward. That would have been nice. I would have thought it'd been in their best interest to sort of protect themselves from the. But I mean, the legal side of it, I mean, was kind of interesting, particularly with the fallout from Civil War and whatnot. All those people or superheroes that may have had to expose their true identities. I mean, everyone knows who they are, then they're liable to get sued, aren't they? So it was a nice. It would have been nice to sort of explore that and explore some moral ramifications of being a vigilante. Yeah, maybe that would have been nice. Get some actual intelligent dialogue going on. Maybe we'll get that in the second series. I think there will be a second series. I don't know. It's not for me. I know this was a bit ranty. Please like and share. Hey, don't like it, turn the fucking thing off. It's the best advice I can give you. Anyway, love you. See you soon. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Toodle pip.